Greetings, I'm Dr. Ketsia Alert Sadler, founder of College Cafe, and your moderator for the College Planning with NAAHP webinar series. The National Alliance for the Advancement of Haitian Professionals and College Cafe welcome you to 2024. Hope it has been a great start for you, and we're looking forward to being part of your college planning search and everything that goes along with it. So today you'll have the opportunity to view some of the webinars from 2023's series. If you weren't able to join us, or if you joined and had to leave the broadcast earlier, here's your chance to watch them again. We had some amazing topics. We first talked about the college visit with Miss Vanessa Devericks from Montclair State University, and we had Dr. Gaetan Jean-Marie from Rowan University. And then we talked about running to pay for college, looking at all you athletes in the track and field realm. And so we had Coach John Prescott, Coach Cherie Ware-Powell, who's an award-winning coach at Felician University, and also Miss Michelle Neal. Then we moved on to a topic that's really interesting for parents, the actual parent involvement in the college application process, and parents have to understand. We had two moms who went through the process with their children. The first mom is Philippa Sutherland, and our other parent is Miss Shanta Campbell, and their children are doing well at Drew University and Hampton University. And finally, we ended this year with looking at careers in music in the key of life. And our guests on that episode were Miss Jasmine Young from the Howard University, Dr. Gary Hollander, band director from Dwight Morrow High School in Englewood, New Jersey, and we had Armand David Sadler, hip hop reporter for Vibe magazine. So if you missed any of these episodes, we hope you will join us. Grab your popcorn, your favorite drink, and get ready to learn some things in order to fulfill your dreams of whatever your career choice will be. We look forward to working with you in 2024. Take care. Bye-bye. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to College Planning with the National Alliance for the Advancement of Haitian Professionals. Tonight's program is Parents Have to Understand the College Process. I'm Dr. Ketsia Alert Sadler, founder of College Cafe, and your moderator for this evening. So excited that you're here to join us. And before we start, first thing we want to do is thank our partners, obviously NAAHP, College Cafe, Parent Matters, and Golden V. Thank you so much to our community organizations who are taking time to join us and support us in this endeavor to help parents and their children understand about the college application process. I am really excited about this program this evening because it's a little different than most of them. We usually have professionals in different capacities related to the college process. So tonight we have two women who are experts in their fields, but they're talking about their experience in the whole college process. So our first guest is Miss Philippa Sutherland, who was born in Kingston, Jamaica. So all you Jamaicans out there, you got someone to talk to this evening who's going to, have the accent, so you can see like, okay, I'm cool with that. She was born in Kingston, Jamaica. She migrated to the Bronx in the early 90s, graduated from Harry S. Truman High School, and attended Fairleigh Dickinson University, earning a Bachelor of Science degree with an international business emphasis. After transitioning into education, she then continued to earn a Master of Arts in Educational Leadership at Montclair State University. She's been an educator for 15 years, starting her career as a Title I aide in an elementary school in Newark, New Jersey. She spent 9 years in the classroom as an elementary teacher, a dedicated, resourceful, and goal-driven professional educator with a solid commitment to her students' social and academic growth, which we know is very important. During her time in Newark, she became an intricate part of the leadership team by helping create the after-school program that provided the students with tutoring, boat building, performance arts, and arts and crafts. Currently, she is working with the Englewood Public School District, where I also work as well. Good to see you, Ms. Philippa.
And our second guest is Miss Shanta Campbell, who is a resident of Bergen County. She graduated from Montclair State University, where she obtained her BS in sociology. She then attended Fairleigh Dickinson University, where she obtained her master's degree in administrative science. She's been employed by the state of New Jersey for the past 22 years as a senior probation officer. She's a hardworking wife and mother. I'm gonna save this little part of her bio. It was during the process of preparing her daughter for college that she was able to gather a multitude of information about college preparation. Whenever she can, and to whomever would listen, she's been spreading the word on platforms to family and friends about the good, the bad, and the ugly when preparing for college. So welcome, ladies. So first thing I have to say, it's really interesting that the ladies' educations are intertwined. One started at Montclair, finished at Fairleigh. The other started at Fairleigh, and finished at Montclair. So it's amazing. Every time I do these webinars, there's always a connection somehow between the guests. So really excited. So you ladies will find more that you are connected with today's program. So like I said, tonight is going to be a real informal discussion. As I said, these women have just gone through the process of college with their students, with their children, the application process. And so they're going to give you everything they can that will help you as parents to understand exactly what's going on. Students, if your parents are not watching this broadcast, go grab them, tell them to join. If they're somewhere else, have them log in onto NAAHP's Facebook page and join us, because we really, really want to empower parents to know that they have a role in this process. So ladies, let's start with talking about your experience with college. When do you first remember your parents talking to you about the whole application process or going to college or whatever? We'll start with you, Philippa.
So I guess the beauty of it is the migration process of why I'm even in America. My mother decided to leave Jamaica to come to America so that my sister and I would have opportunities that wouldn't be as easily capable in back home. Jamaica is very competitive, and you have to be in the top ranking to be able to get into one of the 3 universities on the island. And she just wanted the different opportunities to be able to provide for us. So that's one of her main reasons why she migrated to the US. So being that I migrated here at 9, so that's always been like an understanding that education is the key to get to where you want to be. So learning about it, through my family and watching different aunts and relatives being able to go through their own process is just watching and seeing how it changes your trajectory in life. And then when, you get into high school, you hear everyone buzzing about what they need to do. And I was in the Bronx, and if you sadly weren't a part of the high tier group, you weren't really signaled out for certain things. So networking, I learned early on, is making friends with people that knew what was happening, and I asked questions. And that's how I got into understanding, like, I should be doing tours. I should be, looking at different schools. At the time, what's the difference between a public and a private school? Why is a SUNY school versus a SUNY school might be better fit? So it's starting to, I guess, in high school and learning through, chit chats and conversations, that you begin to realize that it doesn't just automatically open the door. You have to be able to know information to make the plan that's best for you.
Got it. Shanta, what about you?
Well, my experience was a little bit different. I attended a performing arts high school in Paterson, New Jersey. So at the time, I didn't feel as though my guidance counselor was as helpful as I think he should have been, especially knowing what I know now about colleges and guidance counselors. At the time, I felt as though I didn't know any better. So I thought he was doing all that he could do. But now I realize he was doing nothing. And it was actually my history teacher at the time, Mr. Cartana, who actually took myself and a few other students out in his personal vehicle and took us to different campuses to see college, to get acquaintance get acquainted with different colleges and stuff like that. My mom was in college at the time, so I was doing pageants. So that was the only thing on my mind, even though I kept saying, I want to go to college. I need to go to college, but my mom is in college. How are we going to pay for college? So that was another thing that really had me stumbled at the time, worrying about how my mom was going to pay for college for me, being that she was in college herself. So I'm doing these college tours and starting to like the idea of going to college and stuff like that. My mom also had me in pageants, and I'm seeing the people that was surrounding me as they talked about college and how important it was to have a college education. And these were women that I looked up to, and I was like, okay, I want to be like them, so I need to go to college. So I spoke to my mom about it, and my mom actually put her education on hold so that she could prepare herself to assist me with going to college. So I thank my mom for that. I also thank Mr. Cartana for that. And I thank my pageant family for that, because me being around those women to see the statuses where they were, and I was like, I want that status. So being that I wanted that status, I knew what came along with that status. So I had to do what I had to do. And it was just a plethora of different things that encouraged me to further my education.
Okay, so that village term, neither one of you said it, but it was definitely that village that provided you the support that you needed in that time. So knowing that your experience, how did you change that with your own children initially? How did you start with them, and what did you do differently for them?
So just like my parents, my mom did, any opportunity I could get him on a campus, we were. So anybody had a graduation, anybody was moving on, he helped his aunt move on. Yale, 4 years, move on and off. So he began to hear the word as it was a part of our family dialogue. Different family members were, doing their own enrichment. So uncles going back to doing their masters and so forth. So he was able to listen to those conversations of why it was important for them to do these things. And then when we got into high school, we had to make some decisions, like which high school is going to open the door for you? What classes do you need to be able to have that is going to intrigue a school that will make your reputation be something that they want to cultivate in their school? So we began to talk about it, throughout the years, but really in high school, when we decided to go to Bergen Catholic, we recognized the power of the name of the school and how heavily recruited it was for different things. And towards the latter part of the school year, his senior, as he was about to start his senior year, I made a plan that we were going to start to look at schools of his interest. And it just so happened that I got partnered up with College Cafe, as well as Jumpstart, Parent Matters, where that was able to, to gel what he was hearing from me, from different family members, and now a platform where kids his age was going through this. And what we started to do was started to make ideas of where he was interested. And that opened him to be receptive to the information that he was receiving. So I think it started with just first his exposure, seeing how it affected his family. And then as it was his turn to begin to start thinking what is his goals and what's his achievements that he wants to get out of his next 4 years, after college, after high school, a conversation happened with us. And then we began to make different steps to make that come to, make his dream come true.
Cool.
I think with Ariana, this girl came out the womb ready. And I'm not saying that to brag. It wasn't much coaching I really had to do with Ariana, because she had a plan already. She knew what she wanted. She knew what she was going to do. But as far as myself, I always even from the time that I was pregnant with my daughter, I already knew I have to be a role model for her. So whereas I prepared myself to be a role model for my daughter, it's like once she got to the age of where she can talk and her studies and stuff like that, she started reading at the age of 3. She was putting together puzzles. Like, it was little things that my husband and I would do with her to basically keep her mind stimulated. Like, Ariana can take a puzzle apart and put it together. Those were games that we played. We would race each other by putting puzzles together. So we did things to stimulate her mind all the time. She can put a puzzle together like it's nothing. And I'm talking about at the age of like 4, 5. We would just take puzzles and race each other, putting puzzles together. We would take long drives, and on those drives, we would have spelling competitions. So we would pick a word and spell this word. So at an early age, she just had this thing about learning with her. So I really didn't have to drive it into her. You have to go to school. You have to do this if you don't get an education, because she already knew, I want to do this when I get older. I want to have this when I get older. So in order for me to have this, I know that I have to do this and do that. So I thank God for that. But I still wanted to be a role model for her. So I still exposed her to positive things, and still the things that she was in, that she was a part of, clubs, organizations, and stuff like that. It's important to expose your kids to things like that so that they can see that it's not going to be easy. But it doesn't have to be as hard either. You just have to apply yourself and do what you have to do. And I always told her, even if you don't go to college, it's okay. I didn't want her to feel pressured to go to college, even though, of course, we're rooting for it, always rooted for it. But I didn't want her to feel like, if I don't go to college, I'm not going to be anything, or I'm going to disappoint my parents, or I'm going to disappoint, the world or my family if I don't go to college. I just always explain to her, it's okay if you don't go to college, just as long as you try your best, apply yourself, and whatever it is you decide to do, just give it your all. But I just thank God that she actually had a plan already. She knew she was going to go to college, and she already knows what she wants to do after college and stuff like that. So, that was just her.
Okay. So I'm going to comment on 3 points that resonated with me. First, Philippa, I had not even thought about having your child go and help somebody move in. Like they do, older brothers and sisters, but a cousin, like in the case of an only child, that is an awesome way to go visit a school, because there's all that hustle and bustle of everyone moving in and things like that. So that is an amazing way to expose yourself to a college without commitment, like even, without the pressure of a tour or a summer program. So that is great. Shanta, I like what you were mentioning about the stimulation of the mind when the child is little, games, puzzles, spelling, whatever the child gravitates to, that's what you support, and then what you said about her not going to college. What I'm starting to say a lot more now is that, the word college encompasses your 4-year degree and the person going to a trade school, because the reality is the doctor, lawyer, engineer needs a plumber, a mechanic, and a hairdresser. So what are your strengths as a person? What do you do well? And let's figure that out. If you're more of the one who wants to be in a more brick and mortar type setting where you're taking philosophy and sociology and all those things, cool. But if you want to be where you're going to be more hands-on like that, let's do that as well. We have a new superintendent in my district. You probably got to see her maybe at the end of the school year, Shanta, but her thing now, her motto is that all students who graduate will be either employed, enlisted, or enrolled. You're going to college, you'll either be in the military or you'll have a job. And the employed part also encompasses being an entrepreneur too, because so many of us are starting our own businesses. It's so great to be able to call your own shots. And what I say to students who are doing that or becoming mechanic, whatever, take some business courses so you can run your own business and not always have to work for someone. So it's all in that support of your child when they're young to reach the goal they have when they're older. So, Philippa, you mentioned a little bit about Graylin's choice of a high school going to Bergen Catholic because of the reputation. It's a college prep high school. So, Shanta, what were some factors that led you to pick the high school for your daughter, or what? I'm sure it was a collective family decision. So, what played into that?
Yes, that was definitely a process because we researched. Like, I didn't want her to go to just any high school. I actually researched different high schools to see what was the best high school and fitting for what she wanted to study, because she wanted to study law. So we had a couple of high schools. She got accepted to Tech. And she applied for, I can't even remember, it seemed like so long ago, and then COVID hit, so my mind is kind of shot right now. But she attended academies at Inglewood, and she was in the law program there. So of course you have to apply, your application have to be accepted, and then you have to take a test, and then you have to go for an interview. And being that she was going to be in the law academy, they had to like a little small debate that they had to do. So, and she actually got in and she was able to study law there. So being that they had an actual law program, I figured, okay, this might be a good look for her at this school. And they had a little debate team, and, they just did a couple little things for me researching that I really liked.
Okay. So in looking back at your children's high schools, do you feel that it was the right choice for them? How do you feel that with the college preparation piece of it? Was it helpful? Do you feel like there's maybe more they could have done for you? Or what would you have done differently if you had to do it again with the schools?
What is always room for improvement, right? As an educator, we always think of ways we can improve. So yes, I think in general, having a school with a good reputation opens doors, and that's what I told them. I said, this doesn't come free. Therefore, when we what we are going to do is make sure we utilize it at best. And they have in their senior year, their admission counselors do come in, they sit with them, they provide them a resource, which is very thankful, a book that provides the steps, like what you should be doing, what is the difference between SATs and ACTs, what is the process of requesting recommendations, how do you craft your essays, and so forth. So they gave them a good template, a start in of how they should manage their senior year, and then gave them like windows, like this is what you should be doing in the fall, in the spring, and leading up to graduation. So I thought that was very thoughtful because it kept me in line in the junction what we were doing at Jumpstart, Parent Matter, sorry. And then it was in addition to what my family and I felt that we needed to support him with. So I think looking at the school, one of the things I would encourage them is they had an essay boot camp, but it was at a cost, right? It's during the summer when children, wanted to step away. And I kind of bought into, Graylin wanting to have not so much being pressured, but didn't want to start thinking to be more diligent in with it. Thinking back on it, I should have, because that became the hardship for us later on. When he started in September, mine was in senior mode, which is what we're expecting to do. But then when it was time to sit outside of his schoolwork and to craft these essays that were being asked by the different applications he was going through, he got overwhelmed. So thinking back on it, I would definitely say, even if a boot camp isn't at a cost for parents, more so how do they weave it into their academics, but as a parent also finding alternate ways to be able to support him so that he would have felt more at ease when he started to have to submit those essays. And I think that's one of the things I would have changed, is working on those essays in the summer versus when the school year started.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I could take my professional hat off for a minute and just say this, baby, I must say, this is how I have so much knowledge on this stuff now, because I did everything, and I can say that loudly on a microphone and proudly. I did everything. Her school did nothing.
Wow.
Her school did nothing. And Ketsia knows I complain constantly. I talked to everyone and anyone that had an ear or that could give me information. I was not too proud to beg. I was not too proud to take information. Give me all the information you have. And I would call the school and give them the information. And then I would call the school and contact her guidance counselor and say, well, why didn't you inform me of this and that? This is what the kids should know. Why isn't this and that happening? I remember her sophomore year, her being my only child. Ariana was already researching colleges her sophomore year of high school. Now, COVID hit 2020. Mm-hmm. So they were still home doing virtual schooling at the time. But she was already researching colleges. And I remember it was back to school night, and of course it was virtual. And I'm talking to the teachers, but my main concern was I wanted to get to the guidance counselor. Mm-hmm. So I set up a meeting to meet with her guidance counselor. Ariana had no idea who her guidance counselor was. She had a name, but she didn't know who she was, had never seen her before. So even if it's not senior year, you're supposed to introduce yourself so that even if they have problems throughout freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, they are able to come to you. Ariana had no idea who the lady was. So I set up a meeting to meet with her, and I asked her at the time, when are you going to start meeting with them to discuss colleges? Oh, we don't do this until maybe the end of their junior year or senior year, because that's when kids are interested. I said, well, my daughter's interested now, her sophomore year. So she said, well, we don't start meeting with them until the end of junior year. And that really surprised me. Now, that might be the case, but you have a student here that's interested now. So what are you going to do about this?
Right.
Now, once time went on and we got to junior year and senior year, the guidance counselor changed. Ariana once again had no idea that her guidance counselor had changed. I contacted the Board of Ed about this situation. I spoke to the principal about this situation because I didn't think it was fair to her. I didn't think it was not only her, I didn't think it was fair to any of the students, because if you're doing this to my child, then you're doing this to other students as well. And a lot of kids are missing out on so much due to your lack of responsibility. And it really bothered me, but I was not going to let that stop my child from getting and doing what she needed to do. So mama got on the pavement and got on the bullhorn and called who I needed to call to get the information that I needed to make sure she was getting fed what she needed to get fed to prepare her for college. So I think if it's one thing that I can change in her school, it would be the lack of communication with the guidance counselor and the students, because there was really no communication. They would send out a few emails about college fairs and stuff like that, but no one ever came to her and brought her to the office and sat her down and said this and that, this and that, this and that. Now, whereas I do like the school for other situations, but I think in that department, they lacked and they failed. Mm-hmm. Not only my daughter, they failed other students by not doing what they were supposed to do. And if you don't have a parent who's going to be on you like I am, these kids are missing out. And that's what bothers me the most. And that's why, even though my daughter is has gone on and we have her in college and stuff like that, I am offering any parent any information that I have, I'm passing it on. I'm passing it on because it's only fair. It's only fair. And if you have to be in these teachers' faces, you have to be in these guidance counselor faces. If I had a break from work, I was on that phone. If I had a lunchtime, I wouldn't take lunch because I'm on the phone. I'm contacting teachers and I'm contacting principals. I'm contacting the board of ed. I'm contacting the guidance counselors. I'm calling colleges. I'm getting the information that she really needed because she actually did not receive any help. I would say 10% probably came from her guidance counselor. I did everything.
Yeah. No, I know. And College Cafe itself was born out of that sharing. Our older son was at Catholic boys' school, and not to say it's a bad school, but I feel like it was a little more too heavy on the sports aspect. My son got into Syracuse not because of his high school, because even though academically on paper he was strong, it's because he was part of a program in Patterson that helped support me as a parent, supported him as a student, and gave me so much information that the school wasn't giving us. They weren't talking about FAFSA and CSS profile and things like that to you because it was foreign. I'm thinking, I went to college, I can do this. No, 30 years later, different process. So if it wasn't for that program, I know my son would have not have gotten where he was. And so like you, Shanta, I'm like, okay, now I got to start sharing with other families because I can't not give this information to you. What you do with it is different, but I know I'm telling, no, this is what you need to do. But I think I was, and so what happens is you find that if you're not the squeaky wheel parent, then your child is getting lost in the shuffle. They must have had me on speed dial with both my boys, especially the younger one. The counselors would call me and say, oh, Miss Sadler, I have a scholarship application for your son or whatever, because they knew at that point what our goals were with our boys, what we wanted, and what their role was supposed to be in guiding them. Could they have done a little bit more? Yes, but they knew that we were looking for them to give us that information to get our kids where they needed to go, because there's certain things we can't do. But what about the other ones? You know? So let's talk about your children's academics. How involved were you in helping them pick their courses, leading towards college, etc.? Did they kind of give you a hard time talking about, I know they both were in honors courses, obviously, but did they take APs? Did you have to kind of push them to do AP courses, or did they say, okay, cool, I want to do that on my own?
So Bergen Catholic is a small high school, and I think it has its pros and its cons. And this was one of the cons, was because it's such a small school, there's only a limited amount of classes that they can offer. So you had to be ranked in the top of the top to be able, and class caps out at a couple, like 20 something kids, if that. So if you didn't have the recommendation or the letters, the grades per se, then you might have missed out. So for Grayland, I just said, you're going to go in and look at the programs of your interest. And then we did some research. So we said, okay, what programs are you wanting to, you're interested in? What careers are you thinking? Then when they gave us the course list, we said, okay, what would support you to look, to prepare you for that? When schools look at your transcript, what classes do you think is going to indicate them your interest in that program? So we had a lot of conversation about that because his choices were limited. So we navigate, the conversation centered around what is going to prepare you for in college, what would create a recruiter to look at your application more than once. And then when you walk away, how comfortable are you feeling that you got a well-rounded education? Because you still have to be able to apply it. So these weren't courses that were, you can easily get 100 on it. No, what is the purpose behind it? And I think once we flushed that out, he was able to go in and sit. They actually have a meeting with them where they have to come in with their courses plan, and they discuss with them why they wanted this. And then it became, okay, you're interested in this. And then they began to build classrooms. And they did that for them actually end of junior year. So when they walked in for senior year, that was already planned. So we started, they have, I must say they had a plan that was very strategic for him. And I just build on it to say, it isn't just the AP. If you took an AP course, well, what does that mean? And how is that going to benefit you and I later? But then if it wasn't an AP course, it was an honors course. How is that still going to enrich you to get you the skills you need to be prepared for college, but also to be viable of an interest to a recruiter. And I think once we created that conversation and he made those decisions, he was able to justify what he wanted. Because what I didn't need was for him to say, Mom, you put me in this class. No. You decided. We talked about it, but the final decision is yours. If I gave feedback, you had to then support why you want to, and then we adjusted. He had to adjust when he rushed. Oh, I didn't think of it that way. So I think we became partners. That's really one of the I would say that worked for us a lot. We developed a partnership where I allowed him to listen to feedback, and then we called people who we needed to ask for support. You know, we looked at college course lists. We went to open houses and talked to different admissions officers. And when we went to college fairs, what are you looking for? So he started to hear, and I would say from the first college fair to the last one, I could see how it shaped the way that he looked at his senior year a little different and how he planned certain things for himself. So I think that's what it was. We really became partners, and we talked so that we were able to get each other's thoughts out. But then we looked at the end result is what is it going to do to make you more appealing for a recruiter, but prepare you to be successful in college.
Got it. Okay.
Right. I think with Ariana, her school, being that it was a part of the academy, because, academies at Inglewood is a stem from Dwight Morrow, but they just created a second high school, with the academy, whereas Dwight Morrow was separate, but it was on the same campus. So if you were a part of the academy, in some classes, your schedule, it was you had to take certain classes. Like if you were in the academy, if I'm not mistaken, I think you have to take 4 years of certain courses. Whereas if you were a Dwight Morrow student, you only needed 2 years. So a lot of their schedules were already, pre-done for them, that they had to take the classes. So a lot of every class that she took was an honors class. So if it wasn't an honors class, if you're in the academy, all your classes are honor classes, regardless. Your schedule is all honors classes, unless you're in the AP class or the dual enrollment class. Mm-hmm. So she did start it out the first year with AP. So she had the AP history, the AP chemistry, and AP language arts. And she took the dual enrollment calculus and dual enrollment pre-calc is what she took. And then the rest of the classes were honors classes. And I knew, now this is the part where I had to really stay on her, because I knew she had a heavy schedule with AP classes and dual enrollment and honors classes. So I explained to her, this is what the colleges are going to be looking at. Mm-hmm. So it's imperative that you stay on top of your grades, because this is what they're going to look at. Just the fact that it's an AP course that you took, or the fact that it's a dual enrollment course, not the honors classes, but AP and dual enrollment, you have to stay on top of these classes because they're going to look at these things. And she always thought that I was exaggerating when when we would go to these college fairs, and I would say, no, you got to put that on and she was like, no, Mom, we don't have to put that on there. I was like, Ariana, you don't understand how important it is that they see that you took these courses and the grades that you got in these courses, because everything determines how much money, because we need a scholarship. So everything determines how much money you're going to get. And the part that we drilled in her all the time, we will always say, Mommy and Daddy don't have no money to pay for college. Mm-hmm. So you have to get a scholarship. Do you understand that? Do you understand? We do not have money to pay for college, so you have to get a scholarship. So getting good grades in these courses, we were taking those shorts with that. So I think with her schedule, it was pretty much destined that she had to take certain courses because the school already had it mapped out for the children that were in the academy's part. There were some classes that were that you can select on your own. And then there was some classes that if a teacher thought you should take that class or be put into this class, it was some courses, they had an option whether they can stay in the honors or go to the AP. So some courses she didn't have to take AP, but I would say, no, take it. Take it. I think you'll get a good grade in it. I think it really was me pushing her with some things because I knew how important it was in getting scholarships. I knew how important it was to colleges once this goes on your application and your transcript is sent to them. Once they look at this and they see, oh, she took this course and she got this grade in it and this grade in it. I knew how important it was. So I admit I did push a little bit for her to take certain courses that could have stayed honors. I pushed for it to be AP courses, but that's just me. And if you know your child's potential, that's very important. So I would never push her into something that I didn't think she could not achieve. It's that I knew her potential, and Ariana is her worst critic. She gets in her own head and she's her worst critic sometimes, but I knew she could do it. And I'm like, you can do this, you have this. And if I not jump off topic a little bit, it's still on topic, but just going into it a little bit further. I remember when she applied for, I kept pushing for her, Ariana, when are they going to tell you about the National Honor Society? I wanted her to join the National Honor Society, but she had not heard. It wasn't so loud in the school where everyone knew. No one's never told me anything about it. I said, well, you have to go to your teachers and you have to find out when is it going on? When is it going on? When can you apply? She applied for the National Honor Society, had everything filled out to a T, and she didn't get in. Now, myself, as the parent that I am, very involved, I contacted the principal. Because like I said, you have to know your child's potential. There is no way you're going to tell me with the grades that she has and the background in activities, extracurriculum activities and community services that she has, that she did not qualify for this National Honor Society. Explain to me why. I need to know why. As her parent, I deserve to know why. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of there was a certain teacher that revised it, and he felt as though she had a couple hours short of community service. That's not acceptable to me. You're worried about a couple hours short of community service for something as prestigious as this? Look, did you take into consideration everything else? Okay, give me the application. I'll do it over. I'll have her do it over. Ariana did the application over, revised her application again. They revised it. He approved it. I was not going to let that pass. When you know your child's potential, you cannot just take what these teachers say and just think it's bond. No, you're not going to shortchange her. She has worked hard for this. Her grades show that she's worked hard for this. She works hard in school and she works hard outside of school. And you're not going to come in here and tell her that because she's a couple hours short of community service hours that she can't have this. No, that's not fair to her. And I'm not going to accept this. You need to revise her application over again. I know her potential, and I didn't take no for an answer. And she didn't believe it. She didn't want to do it. She kept saying, Mom, no, I don't want to submit it again. He said no, so just leave it alone. And I told her, you never take no for an answer in the beginning. You always try again. And after I spoke to him and she resubmitted her application again and had to have it, he said, have it submitted by a certain time. She submitted it by that time. He revised it. We both received the email that she got in. She was so surprised. She said, Mom, I'll never take no for an answer again, because I honestly didn't think that they were going to let me in, but they did. You have to know your child's potential, and you have to challenge the teachers.
Yes.
You definitely have to challenge the teachers, because no one's going to ride for your child better than you.
Got it.
And I ride from the front to the back for my daughter. and she knows it. And if I didn't think she could do it, then I wouldn't push for it. But I'm not going to allow anyone to shortchange her for something that I know she's worked so hard for.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say that I think I was a combination of both, especially with my younger son. The older son, I always say to him, I'm so sorry, Andre. We didn't know what we were doing. We did the best we could, but we learned so much from him that with the younger child, like you did, Philippa, we gave him choices of certain courses to take. And he's even brighter in some ways than his brother, although older brother, if he's listening, he'll say, no, he's not. No, he's not. But he was, so we gave him some choices. But like you did, Shanta, when National Honor Society application came about, I said, oh, no, you're doing this. And I pushed him and helped him whatever areas that he needed support. I did because I knew it's something that he could do. And for the person who asked about National Honor Society, it is like Ms. Campbell said, a very prestigious organization for a student to be inducted into. There's an application process. There is sometimes an interview, I think. And so students usually, they do the application. Teachers have to write letters of recommendations for them. And then the school has a committee that would select the student. It's not a national, it is national in that almost every high school should have a chapter, but the high school itself picks the students. And even now, some middle schools have national junior honor societies. So parents listening out there who have a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader who has top grade, you should ask to see if there is a national junior honor society at your school. Because again, like both moms have said, if you don't ask certain questions, they're not looking for you to tell you those things. So you as a parent have to step outside of your comfort zone. If you're the one who does not like to ask questions, you're going to have to, for your child, to take that initial step and find out the information and support the child. And like both of you said, it's knowing your children as well, which is kind of another question that I had to ask is, knowing your children, you have to support them in things that they're good at doing. So were there any other areas that you had to help your child tweak to see where their strengths were in helping them figure out with this college process?
Yes. So organization, right? We have to teach it, like, get ready. Mommy's not going to be there to tell you this meeting is happening at this time. You had to go to this class at this time. So one of the major things that we did, we showed him the power of Excel. So we created through the Parent Matters and Jumpstart meetings we had, there was a conversation about doing an Excel spreadsheet that tracks certain information of colleges of interest. And funniest thing, in his junior high school, they also had like a pretend you're going on a college tours. What would you look for? So I said, let's tap into, you did that project a few years ago, and we've seen what the program actually had a speaker that came on and showed about this Excel sheet that she used, and as an example was shared with the team. And what then occurred out of that was this living document that we live by throughout the entire year. And it started in the summer. And the first thing we did was like, okay, what schools are you interested? Why are you interested in it? And we start having these dialogues about these potential schools. And then what happened is I said, you know what, there are ideas now, but we need to start making plans. And this the spreadsheet literally became we touched it at least once a day, if not 4 or 5 times throughout the week. And what happened with that was that we started off with what college of interest, when are they having their open houses, what date they were having, the time, how far would it take for us to get there. And from there, we started to create this tracker that allowed us to be able to look outwardly for like the summer. What are our plans? So August was college tour month for us. And we went on like every week, I think from August until November, when it got too cold, we tracked. And then then he had to write feedback. What did he think? When we then when information started coming in, oh, you had to have this application deadline in. So we had another tab open. By the time we were finished, there were at least 6 tabs, or more actually 10 tabs that he had that started with interviews. And then we had check-ins with to see, did you register? What happened? Your feedback. Then we went to the college application. We had one tab that said, here are your 3 different categories: your reach school, your safe school, the school that you dreaming and wishing, baby, please, like, can I get that school? And then we looked at the data. It was like, what do you need? What are your test scores? What are they looking for? What are the elements? And then we went through and ranked them and said, this is why this might be a good school for us. And then when he will go back and go, Mom, I went to that campus, I didn't like it. And he would have to explain why. Well, guess what? We're not erasing it. We're just going to draw a line through it to say, this is why this is not a fit, because something else may register in this category. So this spreadsheet became the tool to help him fix the pieces that would be missing. Oh yeah, I got this new website at school. It's called Naviance. Okay, what's that? Oh, Naviance helps us with this. Okay, but mommy doesn't see Naviance. So this is my Naviance. So take what you got from Naviance and drop it in here and tell me. One of the best things that Bergen Catholic did, they had people come in that were coming to do different colleges came to talk to them. And I was like, okay, let's pull up Naviance too. Then drop that on your spreadsheet. Oh, I have, I'm going to meet with this counselor. Great. Put his name on it so that if you need to reach back out to this kid, I know who you talked to when you went to the meeting. Because again, I'm not looking at Naviance. I left that to you. That's your ownership. So I think what happened is this it became so intricate that when something happened, we had to update, and we had fields, did this, registered, didn't work, rescheduled, spoke to this person, got this answer. And then once we went from applying, then when we got acceptance letters back, oh, check. And girl, wasn't it something when he said yes, and this was a yes, and this was a yes, and I don't care about that one, but that's a yes. And he just went down and he was like, wait, mommy, that's like 15 yeses. And I'm like, yes, that's what you want to see. And I think the last part to that was for him, the benefit of keeping the village close, right? So I had a younger cousin that he really looks up to, and she jumped in on the part on the spreadsheet. She started to navigate. We shared it, the power of Google, right? And she was in it. She was like, she'll call and she's like, I see you have a meeting at 6:00. Are you ready? And she'll check him. And then from there, what then happened is she started to have what she referred to as a 15-minute stand-up meeting. So she will call and we'll all be on the phone, and she'll be like, tell me what you did on the spreadsheet today. What are your plans? What's happening next? And how can we support you? And because of that, he had to speak up and talk to where he was in the process. So it wasn't just mommy, mommy, mommy. It was what you were doing. And then in the back, we were like, what do you need? How can we help you? So that then he began to take ownership of it. And then he was like, okay, Mom, I think, remember we had this interview with this school and so and so. So this document drove our conversation, our planning and how we did things so that he can stay organized. And that in turn helped us keep on top of those deadlines that slowly crept in, like October 15th, right? And then you have the early decision, the regular decision days, and then your FAFSA days. And we were like, did you do this? Check. When letters came in, oh, we didn't do this, or wow, we did this already, done. So when we were checking with the advisor, the college admission advisor at his school, she was like, wow. Right? She was looking to him to show other kids what needed to be done. So whereas you may have, I must give them props. Like I told Ethan, Graylin, the first day of school, I said, go in and meet your counselor, introduce yourself. She'll happen. They had a change that year too. And I said, she should know you. She should know who you are and what you're about to do and how you want her to help you. And I'm not going to lie, that first parent meeting they had where they brought us in as the senior parents, and she came to shake my hand because she said, I met your son. He comes and talked to me. And wow, And I said, that's what I needed to hear, that he's been listening and applying it. So I think in all, that spreadsheet came out to be the best thing ever, because it just kept us in line until graduation, what he needed to get done.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
As far as we're concerned, with the college process, we pretty much did some of the same things. She began to write colleges down. Like I said, she started her sophomore year, but I'm going to go further up to junior and senior year, where she started still researching colleges. Ariana would take into consideration. She already knew what field she wanted to study, which was law. So she would look at their law programs for each of the schools that she had an interest in. She would check out the ratios of student to teacher. She would also check out the graduation rate. She would look at the cost of tuition. There was a certain amount. We told her you cannot exceed this amount. Things like that we took into consideration. We also looked at the importance of closed campus versus, open campus. We look at the crime rates in the areas. We look at reports that were happening on campus of rapes or muggings or, theft, things like that. We really took a look at and would write things down. And once again, just like you did, Ms. Sutherland, we did the same thing as far as when it was time to apply, writing the importance of writing down dates when applications are due, the importance of finding out what fees are due, because those fees are a killer.
Yes.
When you have to pay for those applications, we will write down different schools have different amounts of what you have to pay for applications that can range anywhere from $45 to $75 to $85 to $95. So we will take that into consideration as well. We will also look at the admissions requirements for different schools. Those things come in handy as well. The different things of what is needed, requirements that are needed, other scholarships that the school may have that were college related, school related scholarships that they had on hand for the students. We also look at SAT requirements. We also looked at what is required for taking certain courses to get into honors colleges for the different schools and stuff like that. Because as you know, that stuff can be very overwhelming. So you have to encourage your kid because they get tired. And I know that I got tired. And Ariana, I will say, due to her extracurriculum activities, Ketsia, I know you're aware of that. My daughter is a dancer, and she's on a competition team. And they traveled a lot with dancing, and they danced pretty much every night. So her schedule was very hectic. So when it came to junior year and senior year, I had to continuously motivate her. It was times that she came home and she was just so tired. And I'm like, well, we have to do at least take an hour out of your time. We got to do some college stuff. I know you just got home from dance. She was doing dance. She was cheerleading. She was running track. She was doing everything junior and senior year. So it's like, I know, baby, I know you're tired, but we got to take at least an hour and let's work on this. Let's get the schedule out. Let's write down what we did already, what we need to do. Let's check and see what deadlines are covered up. Okay, which school has the closest deadline? That's the one we'll work on. The deadline that's the closest, that's the one we'll work on. So let's see what we have already for that school, what we need to get in. So we also had the spreadsheet out, and those spreadsheets are very important. Writing down the different things, visiting schools. I can't express how important it is to visit the campuses, because also as scholarships came in, every school that she applied, she got a scholarship for every single school, an academic scholarship for every single school that she applied to. And the schools that she got a full scholarship for academic wise, she did not go to those schools. Of course, my husband is very heartbroken over that, because she got a full scholarship for certain schools. But when we went to visit the campus, as one school, for instance, Delaware State University, Ariana received a full scholarship for that school. But when we went to the school to visit this campus and everything, when she got there, she was like, this is not for me. So my husband was like, okay, well, like you said, we're not gonna scratch this out. We just gonna put a light pencil line through it right now because we're gonna revisit it again because that's something big to get a full scholarship.
Right.
That's something real big. And then for you to say, I don't want to go to the school, but the school, you know, it was like it crushed us in a sense. But that's why visiting these colleges, going on college tours are very important. I would never want to push her and force her to go to any school that she didn't feel comfortable with going to. And I remember one time she also said, my husband was like, you sure you don't like Delaware? Are you sure you don't like the school? And she's like, no, Daddy, I don't like the school. She did not think it was for her. She didn't like the campus. It was just something about it that she just did not like. And she felt as though it was not for her. So we had to let it go. And things like that will happen. But you just have to trust your child, trust the instincts. So she had other options out there. I mean, and thank God she still chose the school that she's at now because she's happy at Hampton. She's very happy there. And I think we made a good choice. I'm still praying on it, but I think we made a good choice. But it's important, it's imperative that you visit the schools.
Yeah.
Visit as many as you can.
I'm going to add to that. Yeah, don't wait till the actual school year because you're busy. They're busy.
Yes.
Start in the summer. So I can't stress, look for those summer dates and understand an open house and a group tour are two different things. And we thought that, who don't like free merch? And when you go to an open house, they give you a ton of stuff and they sell you this project and you're like, whoa, there's chairs and there's pom-poms. And you're like, yeah. But what you get to see is how much the student body is invested, right? And that's a different view than when it's just a small group of people walking around listening to one person just talking. So you get to see, you want to see both campuses. Because what I did with every visit, and I think I swear we must have been visited 15 schools. Stopped at the end and we looked around and I said, in this moment, it is November, it's a rainy day. Tell me, would you see yourself here and why? And he had to give me an answer. If he couldn't envision himself on campus, he couldn't see himself becoming the man that he wanted to become. He didn't see how they will support him to reach his endeavors. There was only 2 schools that he looked at me and said, this is not fit. And we recognized the size mattered, the extra activities that they would add on, because schools they're there to teach you, right? So he looked at those things, and then I looked at how does the academics push you to getting a job. So I said, you want to hear the end, right? So how your internship. So when we got there, I said, you have to open your ears to how they're going to mold you to get to those. And you had to answer, how do you see yourself on campus here, and how are they going to help you to get to there? And I think when I asked him that, he was prepared each time because he was thoughtful in his response. And then I said, go add it to the spreadsheet, because now when we had to reflect why we like this school, one was simple. Their meal plan was the best. Who didn't want to hear unlimited food for freshmen? I was like, I didn't hear that. But he did. And he was just like, that was something that was unique. And I was like, yeah, how much?
Right.
But it was interesting. And then, it immersed himself into that, so that when we really had that tough conversation on that last slide, that last tab on that tablet on spreadsheet was, what are your top 5 schools? After all of this, pick your top 5. And then we did a compare and contrast. We looked at every cost that they could possibly have, plus the award letters that just kept coming. And then you're like, yay! And then you're like, wait, hold up. This is this and this don't match. This is red. So I put things in color code. I was like, this is red. How much can we appeal this down? And then when they came back with that flimsy $2,000, like, that's not even books. think about this again. So this, you got off that tab and went back on the maybes. But when we utilized it along with his, his thoughts and his feelings, and then we looked at the practical numbers, because then I said, we're going to take emotions out of it, and you got to be ready. You got to be ready to tell me how we're going to pay for this, because, it's not free. And we had to talk about how would each school prepare you to get what you need. And I think one of the best, I would say, we went to open house, and the president said it. He was like, what is our return on investment?
Right.
I was like, oh yeah. Because those sticker figures of like 80,000 a year was like, wait, how and why? How do you pay? And then we had to learn about that. And then that was a conversation. How are they going to prepare you so that you can pay back this debt? Because it's going to be a debt. So if that rated investment doesn't equal, then is this a school worthy of your choice?
Right. So I'm gonna move into the finance conversation. How did you talk to your kids? I know Shanta, you mentioned a little bit, but how did you say to them, okay, this is the reality of our family situation? How did those conversations go about in looking at schools and how we rank them in interest, et cetera?
I think for me, as I stated earlier, I think Ariana, she already had a plan. She came out the womb having a plan about her future, but it didn't have anything to do with finances. She just know what she wanted to do, what she wants to do, where she wants to be, and stuff like that. Not looking at the money part of it, of course. So I think that was the part that we drilled into her head, because, my husband and I, we both work. So we already knew with our finances, we got to pay for school. We already knew that. So that's why it was so important for us to stay on her teachers to make sure, because whereas Ariana can get good grades, she's still a procrastinator. She was always procrastinating with everything. So she was turning in work late, get an A, but she was still turning it in late. So I made sure I stayed on her, because I'm like, this affects your grade. And we need to stay on top of these grades to make sure these grades are top notch, because we need a scholarship for school. You need to understand the importance of keeping your grades up to the highest standards, because the colleges, when they see your transcripts, they pay attention to the courses you take. They pay attention to the grades that you get. They pay attention to the one thing that a lot of people don't know is that they pay attention to your extracurriculum activities, because they want to see its balance. They want to see that you can balance extracurriculum activities and your schooling at the same time. They need that needs to be there. So you need to be able to balance what you do outside of school and what you do in school. And that's very important. Every college application asks about your outside activities. They need to see the balance. So if you have all these fabulous outside activities, but you got crappy grades, that's not balancing. So they need to see the balance. So whereas I knew she had a very active situation on the outside, I needed to make sure that her grades stayed right in school. So we stayed on top of that to make sure her grades were correct. And we knew that she needed a scholarship. And that is what we drilled in her constantly. My doorbell rung. I apologize for that. I don't know if you heard it or live, but I apologize for that. So we pretty much just stayed on top of that to make sure that she was going to get scholarships, that this stuff was submitted and on time, and we were just waiting. It was a waiting process on pins and needles, and I'm biting my nails because I'm like, we don't got no money to pay for school. You got to get the scholarship. So I think it was more, I think it was like, I'm going to college because I already knew. But the finances is on the parents. The kids don't think about the finances because they don't have to pay for it. Mm-hmm. So she would always say to me, I know, Mom, I know you act like it's you going to school. I'm like, but I got to pay for it. So it involves me. I know it's on me. It's on me. No, it's on me too, because I have to pay for it and you don't. So I have to be on top of it as much as I am on top of it. It's very important. And also another thing that we did, SATs are very important.
Mhm.
I'm hearing so many kids during the time when she was in school and also now when they see that the SATs are not required, I tell them it's a trap.
Yep.
It's a trap.
Mm-hmm.
Take those SATs, because if you're looking for an academic scholarship for school, they want your SATs. It's one thing to get accepted to a college, but you need a scholarship. If you're looking for a scholarship, you have to submit those SATs, at least an academic scholarship. You have to submit your SATs. So don't just apply for a school and think you get that letter that you've been accepted, that it's all gravy from there. How are you going to pay for it?
Right. Right.
Is you have to submit the SATs. And that's important. For one of the schools that she actually, they were doing college acceptances on the spot at a college fair. So we went to the college fair, we took her transcript, she submitted it to the college right there at the college fair. They accepted her at that college with her SATs and they gave her a partial scholarship. Right then and there, we said, okay, well, what does she need to do to get a full scholarship? He looked at her SATs and he said, if you bring your SATs up this amount more, she can get a full scholarship. Ketsia, that's when I contacted you because she had already taken the SATs. So I knew we needed to get her SATs up this much more higher for her to get that full scholarship. Once I contacted you, we had to do what we had to do. So guess what? We had to pay someone. We were willing to do it because it makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
We were willing to spend that extra $100, $200, $300 to save us thousands in the end.
Right.
And that's exactly what we did. He worked with my daughter for a couple of weeks because the next SAT test was coming up. I think it was in a matter of maybe 3 weeks. So those first 2 weeks, he worked with my daughter. God bless him. She brought her scores up enough to get that full scholarship for that school. So it was important, and it made a very big difference. So SAT scores, it matters. Do not neglect them just because the school says SATs are not required. You're absolutely right. It's not required to get into the school, but it's required to get a scholarship, especially an academic scholarship.
Well, I question that. My son was not an SAT person. He actually liked the ACT. And we struggled because, you know, when we were young, that was all you heard. You got to take the SAT, and that was it. And he pushed back. Then I knew I had to pick battles. I wanted him to be a partner on this journey and not me just leading him, dragging him along. So at the time, you know, last year, obviously, test optional was the goal. And what we found was that when we did our spreadsheet, we looked to see which of the two, especially for the ACT, what were the scores that he had, because he took that test. Was that sufficient? And then we called and asked. We talked to their admissions officer to make sure that based on what test optional meant, how does it impact their scholarship, if merit scholarship needed. Some were very specific. You had to have it to be able to earn merit. Others, you had to have a very forceful, impressive essay that showed you had a strong transcript. So we went that route because he knew he could talk more about himself than a test could. So it became a real, you know, like, tighten up those speaking skills. Let's make sure you put your best foot forward. How do you command a room when you walk into and you tell someone that you are the best fit for this school? So we did interviews, and that allowed him to open a lot more doors for himself, because then they recognized what the type of gentleman that they were speaking to. And I think that was where his charm came in. And he presented a package that showed them, this is what I had. So it's researching where you're wanting to go, what their requirements are, and what would they negotiate, where the negotiables are and where there's non-negotiables. And if there was a school that said it had to have this, then that's where you needed to be able to reach. And then based on that tab, where did you put that school? Is that a safety school or a reach school? Is this, the school that we're thinking about but not too sure? And if you really wanted to go there, then what do you need to do to get to that? And I let him have, to be very frank, he had to make those decisions, because in a year's time, I'm sitting in the back seat just watching you ride. I think, adding to what you said earlier too, Ms. Campbell, is that, when we went through the process of looking at cost, I was frank. I was very blatant. This is what this family can afford. This is what the schools cost. And that's why, again, I go back to that spreadsheet, and I took all his itemized costs. And when the aid packages came in, we put them side by side, and I did a running total. And I said, this is what pays for that. This how many, a state school versus a public school, a private school, or out of state school versus in-state.
Mm-hmm.
I explained to him, one school was, this is the one I really like. And I was like, well, you're leaving money on the table because Jersey aid don't go to New York.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he was just like, what do you mean? I was like, you see this money right here? It's now a zero. I change it in the category. What happens to this balance right here? You're not guaranteed that. So now when the money came in, and then I sat him down, I was like, here you go. I managed that for a little while. But when we started to making those top fives, then I said, here you go. What do you notice? What do you see? Where does the cost comes in, right? The books, so-and-so, are the miscellaneous costs, but you got to put it in there. It's going to be a cost that you are going to take. What are those fees that you didn't, which you might need to know about? What's the difference between a merit versus your tag money? What does that mean? How does that come? Is this guaranteed? Is this not guaranteed? So we started to really have a really grown-up conversation about what it means and how you have to maintain it so that you can continue it over 4 years. It had to say this is a 4-year scholarship, not just a scholarship. And that's the thing parents needed to see as well. Is this guaranteed throughout the 4 years? If this is for 4 years, how much out of each year are you going to get? What does each semester look like? So I start breaking it down, and he was just like, wait a minute. Then when the cost tag, that red cell kept popping up, I said, now times that by 4. This is what we would have to pay. And not we. And, when we had to make that decision, I said, it dropped down to the top 2. And, like you said, you got that full scholarship, and it was like, we're going to leave that money on the table. The question came, it's in November and I'm sitting on this campus, how would I feel when I look 4 years from now? How would it benefit me? And sometimes that money that seems so enticing, that will make you feel that, wow, I could walk out of here with a minimal debt, might not be the program for you, or may not offer the programs you need. So it's hard to just say we're walking away from a full scholarship where you would be debt free, but would you be happy? And that's where the sacrifice came in. And then the tough conversation really became, now we're looking to have a cost, a larger cost where this is none. What does that translate to your obligations, to your making sure your self-discipline and your the track that you're going to put yourself on is going to make sure that this cost now has a value. Going back to what is the return of investment? Because now I'm investing in you.
Mm-hmm.
So when I hear you talk about this school and you're passionate about why it would be good, how is it going to work for you? And I think that's what helped us make him comfortable when I handed him that card and I said, now the decision is yours. And I walked away. I said, you now know what is on the table. Either which way, your mom is going to support you. Which one would you pick? And I left it to that because I said, you're not calling me in 6 months telling me you don't want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep it very open and transparent with him. And I expect him to do the same. And I think that has created a conversation, a standard for us so that now where he is, he's comfortable. He's learning himself. He's seeing what we're talking about. And he was proud this weekend to have us on campus and show all his, his friends and introduce his family, because it was family weekend, where he is and what he's doing. So it is being transparent with your children to make them be a part of it. And I think my relationship with my son allowed him to kind of to feel that he was heard.
Okay. Well, good. I'm loving hearing all of this, because I'm hoping that the families are getting the point drilled into their minds that there's a real conversation that has to happen. Some families don't have money. I know with my boys, that definitely was a conversation. And with our boys being 4 academic years apart, the older one definitely had pressure, because we said, you got to be finished in 4 years, because when you leave in May, your brother starts in September. And in the midst of that, I had gone back to school for my doctorate. So I'm like, we cannot have 3 people in school at the same time. So you need to finish so he can start and do scholarships. So they knew that senior year, once the applications were submitted, scholarships. That's what we had to work on, because that was the reality. Now I have friends on the other hand who they told their kids, we've been saving. We started 529 since the day my child was born. So you can go wherever. Money's not an option. Money's no object. Wherever you want to go is fine. But for those of us who don't, you have to start that conversation with your child and say, all right, let's look at the finances. So ladies, let's say now you have a second child. I know you both have just one, but if you had a second child, we got about 12 more minutes to talk. So what would you do differently besides everything you said already? Is there anything you think you might do differently, or that you want to tell the parents that they definitely should make sure they do or don't do?
I think for me, I would definitely had started a little earlier for Ariana, because we started making decisions senior year. I would actually start junior year, touring colleges and taking the SATs. I'm grateful that it all worked out in the end, but it became so overwhelming because we did wait till senior year. So it was very overwhelming. I would suggest start as early as possible. Start touring these colleges now. It makes a world of a difference. SATs, take them your senior year. Start filling out applications for colleges now, because also don't wait to the end. The one thing that I kept telling Ariana not to do, but she did it anyway, me letting her take the lead on some things, was that she didn't want to submit the college application because she didn't take the SATs yet. No, submit the college application. You can always go back and submit the SATs, because once you complete the Common App, you can go back in there and alter it. You can go back in there and put your SATs in there. So if you have not taken the SATs yet, that doesn't mean you can't go on and submit your college application, because when you're in that Common App, you can go back and fill information in to the college application. I would also advise, get your taxes in order for the FAFSA. Get your taxes in order now for the FAFSA, because it's imperative and you need it. It's very important. your children. You have to motivate them constantly. And the one thing that is extremely important, don't think because it's your kid going to college, it's their responsibility that they have to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
You as the parent have to do it with them. You have to put that time aside and work things with them. Do you know how many things? It was so funny with that Naviance thing. Ariana got so many college acceptances just from Naviance, but she didn't know because she wouldn't check her email.
Mm-hmm.
College applications, things that they would send her, oh, you can apply to our college for free. They would send it to her email, but being that she never checked her email, we didn't find out till the deadline was over. So it wasn't until I got my hands on her password that I was in that email constantly, like 10 times a day. So I would encourage parents, you have to be involved in everything. Because when the kids fill out the Naviance in school, they're giving their information, their email and all of this information. So things that colleges are sending are going to the children's email. And if they're not checking their emails, they're missing deadlines, they're missing scholarships, they're missing college fees that the application fees that can be waived. They're missing a whole lot of things. You have to stay on your kids. You have to be involved. And if there is something that you don't know, ask. Don't be too proud that you cannot ask for help from anybody. And I'm telling you, there is no wrong question. There's no question too big, and there's no question too small. You have to put yourself out there and be involved in your kids, because you have to be their biggest advocate. No one is going to advocate for your kid like you would advocate. And we got to remember, it's our money. These kids are not paying for it. Well, depending on the loans or whatever, but our goal is for her not to have loans in her name. We want to be able to pay for what we can pay for, and then once she gets out and starts making her money and she can contribute, that's how we'll work that out. Then right now you worry about getting the grades, but we still have to pay that money. So we are very involved in decisions. We're very involved, and even now I'm calling her because she knows that it's important. Just because you got into the college, you have the scholarship, it's renewable. Remember, your GPA has to stay a certain amount for that scholarship to still be active. So don't think because you got that scholarship that you're going to keep that scholarship and fail school. Your GPA has to be a certain point for that scholarship to remain in effect every single year, for it to reload. And also, just because you got into that college, don't think that you have to stop applying for scholarships. Right. You keep applying for scholarships. That was the one thing that we told Ariana. Okay, when it came down to narrowing it down to the last 5 schools, okay, so you have this money. This is the money that they're giving you. These are the scholarships that you have. This scholarship is greater than this scholarship, but this school costs more money. So how are we gonna make up the difference? What are we gonna do? Well, we have to have a plan. Because you cannot go in there without a plan, whether it be you're going to have to keep those grades up. But our thing was, we're going to keep applying for scholarships, because there are scholarships out there for freshman college students, sophomore college students, junior college students, senior college students. There's scholarships out there. My husband is Jamaican, so my daughter is what I call her Jamaican. So there's scholarships out there just for you being Jamaican, even though your mother is American. There are scholarships out there for left-handed children. There are scholarships out there for first generation children going to college. If you're the first in your generation to go to college, there are scholarships out there for you. There are scholarships out there for children that are extremely smart but of low income. There are scholarships out there for Ivy League colleges that pays for you to go to school. You will be amazed at the amount of scholarships that are out there, but you have to research and you have to ask questions. No one can do this alone. No one can do this alone. And I feel so bad for children, for people that have there are language barriers, or parents that are illiterate and not able to advocate and help their children the way that they're supposed to help them, and they're not getting the guidance that they have, the guidance that they're supposed to have in the schools, because these kids are missing out and there's so much information. And that's why I'm spreading the word. So I tell everybody and anybody that would listen, I tell them everywhere I go, it doesn't matter. I'm here. I can, what I don't know, I'll ask a question. I'll find somebody, trust me. I will find somebody to get the answer for you, because if parents are lost,
Right.
children are lost, and you have the blind leading the blind. So it's too much information and it's too much money out here for these children. And all they need is a little bit of help.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they need, is a little bit of help, someone to guide them in the right direction, to advocate for them. It doesn't have to be your child. It does not have to be your child. And I'm ready to advocate for somebody's kid. Just call me.
I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you.
Same question. I would think the first thing is support group. You know, I'm very thankful, you know, towards the end, a few of his friends and his mom, we met, they did have different open houses that we had to attend as senior parents, that we can learn about what their process is and what to expect. And it just so happened, we just started making connections. And in a school where there's not many minorities in there, we realized that we had to kind of gel in. So what did you do and whatnot? And one of the funny thing is, one of the parents, like, you know how you just say hi and bye, we were at a meeting and I just so happened to have arrived late, and oh my gosh, what did I miss? And I just saw a mom with a notebook, and I said, you know, I'm so sorry to just ask this question, but what did you write down? I'm the teacher, I take notes. I'm sitting here and I'm writing notes down. And she was just like, wow, and she shared. And because of that one little connection, we made a little parent group. So when one of us got a buzz on something, we shared them and we kept trading information. And I think if we had did that prior to senior year, how much more information we could have gotten them into different mentorships and leadership programs that one parent had access to that I didn't know about. So I think, you know, for parents, it's definitely finding those groups. I know there's organizations that are geared just for that, but within the school, you know, building a connection where you can kind of keep each other accountable and be known. Oh, today's a meeting. Make sure, you know, you're going to be there. And it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And I think that was one of the things that I wish that I had did earlier on. You know, I mean, as much as we brush underneath the fact that the pandemic interrupted this group for years, we have to speak to it. There were a lot of experiences that they just didn't get to have. And because of my own fears, my child wasn't running around the street. No, you stay home. We don't need to expose ourselves to things that we don't know what was going on at the time. So limitations was placed, and when we could, you know, you pushed at everything, but I'm tired. Burnout became real for me and him. And if I saw one more essay or another thing that said you got to write 3 essays, we were closing computers. Like, that's not just for us right now. Like, we stepped away. I was like, I know, and I'm not setting good examples, but you gonna take the lead on this one? Just send it to me. I'll review it. Matter of fact, send it to your uncle. I'm tapped out. Like, it was to the point where, like, mommy's done. Go to the side and figure it out. And I recognized I couldn't do that all the time. But when I hit that spot, woo, yeah, it was real. So it, you know, as much as I talked about that spreadsheet, there were moments where it just didn't work out for us because life happened. And I think giving yourself grace to understand that, you know, we didn't get that we missed that deadline. Oh, we didn't do that essay. We were supposed to submit this and so forth. So it's understanding that, you know, you're going to be successful in some areas and you're going to, you know, burn out in a little bit in others. And then realizing that you have to pick your battles. And that was a battle that I had to learn. It's just like this time I'm not going to force you, but rather let's think of an alternative so that we can get something done. And I think that was one of the what helped us to not bicker as much, but we did. And then just listening to each other became so important. And that's why I said we became so transparent with our dialogue and what he needed and what I needed him to do and where he was feeling and how he was feeling overwhelmed at certain points, and then what he needed me to back up on or step up in. And I think that helped us create that partnership that I will say to this, at the end of senior year, it felt like we both graduated on that.
Yes.
I'm like, and I'm thankful Bergen Catholic actually had us walk across the stage with him. So I'm like, yay, we did this. But the last thing I would definitely say is, if I could do one thing differently, is also not just going back and, having more opportunities available to him, but finding out where organizations that can help and asking
Mm-hmm.
help, is doing the research to find out where could we get more support on essay writing, or when
Yeah.
he doubting himself about the SAT, he just didn't feel that was for him, but he went the ACT route, but you never gave the SAT a chance. What could we have done? What could I have reached out and said, let's try it this way differently, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe he would have had 2 versus 1 on his, to open up more doors for him. So I think
Mm-hmm.
in all honesty, he needed to be where he is, and I'm thankful for it. And with that, the family that came and the friends that we were able to utilize to make this work, I'm thankful for. And for any parents that out there, understand that you cannot do it independently of each other.
Amen.
You need to work and pull your support team around, or build a support team that you can use,
Mm-hmm.
and understand that in the middle of all of that is your child.
Right.
Whatever you do for that child, he
Mm-hmm.
he or she will benefit because someone cares. And I think that's where where they then go is then based on love, because that's the effort that they put in.
Right. And
If
where
I could just say one more thing that we didn't touch on is we talked about SATs and ACTs. A lot of parents don't have money for a tutor or for a person to come in to help their child, but there are resources out there that the parent and the child can become a part of to help prepare the child for SATs and the ACTs, and that's the Khan Academy and College Board. And I'm pretty sure there are some other ones, but those were the 2 popular ones that we took on before we decided for the last time to get the tutor. But there's Khan Academy and there is College Boards, and those are free resources that the children and parents can use to help prep your child for the SATs and the ACTs.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love what you both said as far as the email. First of all, Ms. Sutherland knows through Junior Jumpstart, we would even tell families to create a brand new email just for college, because your regular email, every time you buy something, now you're getting emails to buy some more when there's a sale and spam and all kind of stuff. And so that way everyone had access to it. And I would tell families, mama check it in the morning, dad in the evening, child later on, so that you're not missing deadlines on things. And then the support group, that's an amazing thing. Think about it. Your child's going into a school, you've got friends already, you're probably carpooling. Let's make this our college group starting as freshmen with our kids. One of our favorite college trips with our boys, we did UPenn, Drexel, and Lehigh on a weekend. We did the 2 of them in the morning, then we drove, stayed over, did Lehigh, but we had like 3 kids in addition to our boys with us. So you need that family situation. And then just to talk back about the test prep a little bit as well. With College Cafe, it was based on, like I said, that program in Patterson. And the director of that program, God rest his soul, Mr. Carey Jenkins, he said kids should take the SATs as early as like the fall of your junior year. If you've already taken those courses, then you need to take it, even if it only gives you just a little idea of where you need to study, but at least you have a basis. Waiting until the end of your junior or even beginning of senior year, you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage, because when do you study to do better on it? So that's definitely something that we wanted to leave with the families. So ladies, Miss Campbell, Miss Sutherland, I want to thank you so much. I hope all the families and parents out there are listening. You heard it from these ladies who just went through it. Graylin, Miss Sutherland, tell us where Graylin is, because we've been talking about, you didn't say where he is.
He's at Drew University in Madison, New Jersey.
Okay, so we've got Drew University represented in Jersey. We've got oh my gosh, I just forgot the child's name.
Hampton University.
Yeah, Hampton, where Ariana is, down in Virginia, HBCU. So I hope all you families were taking some notes. Ladies, I'm sure are available to if you want to reach out to them to ask them more questions, because there's even more we could have said.
Yes.
But everyone is ready to probably go to bed or whatever. But I am so thankful, because it's so important to really hear what it's like, so you can understand how much of a family process this is. Doing the school work, but parents are doing the scholarship work. I tell parents all the time, scholarships it's a part-time job. It seriously is. But you can start, like Miss Campbell said, the monies are available through College Cafe and Parent Matters. We send out monthly newsletters, emails. There's always money for your children to be able to afford that education. So parents, please make sure that you reach out to us so that we can make sure that you are getting the information that you need. So on that note, I want to say thank you again to our guests, Ms. Campbell and Ms. Sutherland, for sharing their experiences. And to everyone else, we will look forward to seeing you on our next broadcast. Have a great night and be blessed. Take care.
Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.